cavalcade of circular motion, thus defined by the octagon table of double-wide mental introspection, and dedicated utilitarian outward thinking in defense of zero content. Translation: we ain't got nothing. Hey folks, Dude here, coming to you yet again, another iteration of Dude After Dark. This one going to be a special one brought to you by the letters of the letter D, the letter N, the letter C, and followed by the fragrant stench therein of Washington. Wow. I gotta tell you, man, some of the stuff these guys do, it is nothing short of just insanity. I mean, case in point, they were they were told dirty, dingy Harry, use the Rush Limbaugh phrase, but Dirty Harry was told, dingy Harry, was told in no uncertain terms, if you remove the filibuster, you're going to live to regret it because you're not going to be in control into perpetuity as a namesake. You're just not going to have everything, okay? That's not how things are going to run. So, flash ahead to current time period, and I get a mailer because, well, there is no chance or choice or ability to do anything in the state of Maryland unless you happen to have a donkey falling after you as a jackass in the DNC. Translation, the most standard iteration of stating yourself as a political entity in Maryland. If you're a Republican, it's pretty much a non-starter, okay? You're really not going to get a whole heck of a lot going on there. And you're not going to be one of those guys that goes, yes, I have some ability to make myself known. So anyway, looking at things as it is, currently stating things as it is, I'm unfortunately a Democrat in Maryland because you got to be a dino or a Democrat in name only to get anything done in this state, simply because it's a one-party deal. So I get an email from these guys. Every once in a blue moon, I'll get an email, and every time they sent me an email previously and I let them know my status, my stance on things, they stopped sending me emails. Well, this time I got an email from them and I thought it was so hilarious. I literally had to cut and paste it and put it on my Gab account, one of my Gab accounts. I actually got to coordinate which one's which because unfortunately I think I'm like logged in on one when I should be logged in on the other. But here, that's neither here nor there. So, no problem there. I'll simply just update my information and, make sure everything's square and the way it should be and all good stuff like that there. Make things happen and, things will happen accordingly. So anyway, like I said, I get this email from them and it is, one of these bump, you better do this right now. The world's coming to an end, calamity and all the rest of this happy fall. So anyway, I get this email from the DNC and it says this exactly big, the lowercase text so they don't look too confrontational, but Democrats.com, sign now, dump the filibuster. Didn't we tell you guys you were going to regret this when you said no more filibuster or the filibuster's in place or any way, shape, or form? Anytime you guys change policy like that and you think that you're going to be the ones that rule the table, well, somebody might put some more balls in the hole and they're going to be ahead of the game than you, and you're not in charge any longer, and you're going to regret the fact that you did these things. So, sign now, dump the filibuster. The fight for democracy is more urgent than ever. Guys, what you guys sell as democracy is not democracy. It's pretty much Cliven Pliven attempts to crash the economy so you guys can insert socialism. It's in not even couched account on your part to flagrantly pretty much brain screw the kids as they're going through the school system. And you're pretty much known to be those things in which you are. You're trying to take over the political machine. To some degree, you're successful. To other degrees, you'll lie, cheat, and steal to get in no matter what. But you're trying to indoctrinate, you're trying to propagate, and you're trying to install these new ways of thinking that make the old ways just, quaint, but, outdated. So anyway, fight democracy is more urgent than ever. This summer, Senate Democrats are going to be fighting for voting rights. No, you're not. shoring up fair pay, preventing gun violence, combating the climate crisis, and trying to pass President Biden's American Jobs and Family Plans. These are policies that will ensure that young people can grow up into a fairer, safer, thriving community. Okay, let's just break this down for you real simple and easy here. You want to see how things work when the Democrats are in charge, unchallenged, unchecked, and they can do everything that they ever possibly could ever want to do? That's California. That's New York. Both those places have those people that are going, I'm not paying this kind of lifestyle just to live in a squalor-filled crapville with control freak morons running the place, and they're streaming out of there like rats off a sinking ship. You can see a whole bunch of border states are really not happy right now with the fact that they are seeing an influx. I mean, not even a little bit, but a major influx of all these people that are tired of being taxed to death, tired of regulations stepping on their necks, and tired of their businesses being squelched by the bad leadership and completely just not even well perceived of how things work in the real world, other than those guys are professional politicians who have never held a job in their lives and trying to run things by okay, this is how I usually describe the federal government or an overarching state government. It's the guy with the sledgehammer in a room chasing a fly. So the fly's flying around. He's got this sledgehammer, splat. Every time he makes a swing, of course, he's majorly off base. He majorly misses. Of course, he puts holes in the walls. He's putting dents in the floor. He's knocking the ceiling tiles out, making a hell of a mess of everything. When he finally connects to that fly, Thor's hammer, that is one splatitude-eat fly. But in the process of getting to where he's finally connected with the fly, he's made a mess out of everything around him. That's kind of the way the federal government works. It is this unbelievably large entity that has very little fluidity. It was really hard to correct in midstream. And anytime it's doing anything, it really is kind of pretty much an all or nothing proposition. In the process of doing that, it is one of the most inefficient, one of the most expensive, and one of the least, humanly charitable ways of doing anything, to say that the federal government is going to fix all your problems and make your life just a wonderful thing to behold. That ain't how it works with the feds. Well, the Democrats are the big government guys. They really truly think that, that you should sublimate yourself from the almighty and just rely on Uncle Sugar because the government knows how to do things better than him. Continuing on. But because the Republicans can block most legislation with just 40 votes, okay, let's do the math here, okay? The current, and I do mean like current, mandate of which they have in the House and Senate is razor thin for the Democrats to say that they're going to do anything. So if they're saying, oh, these Republicans can block us with 40 votes, let's just do the math here, okay? There's 100 senators in the Senate of the United States. 60 guys is enough to pass the stuff. That means to tell me that, okay, you have a mandate of, I don't know what, 3 extra votes on top of the Senate as opposed to Republicans? So you got 57 as opposed to 43, right? Yeah, you guys are really running the place, huh? Yeah. Oh, no. So basically what that you're saying there is you have such a thin razor edge margin of not even getting your own guys to agree with you. You have to get the Republicans to suck up and follow along. Well, considering that most of these Republicans in office currently are rhinos, they can be bent to the will. Or what they're going to do is they're going to say the very simple reason of why they don't do anything when they're now actually maintaining power in, like, the executive, the senatorial, and of course the congressional, is they assume everybody goes to sleep and they're not watching them any longer, and they can pretty much play house with everybody that's in there and enrich themselves. And when they come out, they're rich, and they got tons of lobbying efforts, and they got gigs and cash and all the rest of that fun stuff. But they basically have enabled themselves to be completely just ridiculously well off. So anyway, looking at things as it is, we see now that pretty much the Democrats are, they're blaming the Republicans on the fact that even their own guys are seeing this legislation and going, yeah, this is crap, man. I'm not voting for this and losing my ass. The only way we're going to secure a democracy that works for all of us, no matter our race, income, or zip code, is to get rid of the Jim Crow era filibuster. Okay, You want to hear about the raging irony in that statement? Well, here it is. First and foremost, KKK. That was the bully boy side of the Democrat National Committee. Jim Crow. That was a Democrat run policy by the DNC. Segregation. That was a DNC policy run by the DNC. Okay? If you want to be completely honest here, they're saying, well, these Republicans are so horrible because we always have this, Jim Crow era filibuster. We're trying now to apply with a wide brush the guilt on these guys for our own past misdeeds. History is history. No matter how you see it, no matter how you say it, history is what it is. Warts and all, there's a reason why you should know history, because these are the things that are going to come back and bite you in the ass later on. And those who do not know history are damned or doomed to repeat it in the future. So sign now. The Senate must ditch the filibuster. I got really, really bad news for you, Mr. Democrat. You're not going to get rid of the filibuster unless you get a whole bunch of Republicans to go, oh, please don't hurt me, Mr. Democrat, which they're really not fearing right now because they're seeing the blood in the water, and 2022 is going to be a bloodbath. And I can get into, all the myriad reasons they're in, but basically what it comes down to being is the very simple thinking they're in. And this is Politics 101. You can look this up anywhere. Politics 101 simply states this. Anybody who is in the White House usually is the guy in his party that suffers the unbelievable losses in the midterm elections if he does anything to make his public policies look bad. Well, if you look right now for the kind of stuff that seems to be happening with President, Mr. That's right, President, that's right, President Kaka has a little bit of a problem right now because, well, his ratings seem to be just kind of going, they're really going down the tubes. And a lot of people are just seeing him for all his public statements and his arrogant way of just pretty much just describing anything that he's ever going to say to anybody. Even the news media is getting sick of him, and they're filing complaints now. Yeah, everybody's pretty much just like, you dick. Exactly, man. They're really...
retard alert. Retard alert, class.
Yeah, they're just really getting tired of him. And those are annoying, okay? So anyway, look at things as it is right now for Joe Kaka. He seems to be stepping on people's toes when he really truly should be maybe making inroads to gather more people to kind of think along the lines of where, he wants to take the country. He's not doing that. He's not doing that at all. And Joe has a very, very long history of being on the wrong side of issues. He went into the Senate in 1973. If you know the history of the Vietnam conflict, in 1974, he was voting and very, very publicly stating we shouldn't be in, Vietnam. We should be out of Vietnam. This, that, and the other thing. The fall of Saigon happened in 1975. Okay. So he was there rah-rahing the Vietnamese, even though if you talk to any of the commanding generals in the Viet Cong army, call it what you will, they stated, this is public statements. You can look this up if you really, where to look. And it hasn't been one of these kind of like, erased for posterity things to make our guys look good. The Viet Cong were stating we're within a few days of collapsing completely. So what did we do? We took defeat from the sure jaws of victory on that one. And we basically wiped out 57,000 plus of our people to walk away from a place that then became, pretty much run by the communists. Sounds really, really familiar what we kind of did over in, I don't know, like the Sandbox. Basically spent 20 years over there stirring dirt around, basically trying to make the Afghanis less Afghani. The Afghanis are not going to change, okay? Literally the easiest way to try to explain the Afghan combat is very simply, the conflict is this. It's literally like the Hatfields and the McCoys. These guys duke it out with each other. It's been Pashtun versus oh, I forget the other tribe names, but there's literally like a bunch of tribes, and they fight each other, Hatfield and McCoys. I mean, that's literally how things work over there. These guys have been killing each other for time and eternal. That's just how things are in Afghanistan. It's literally just a war zone. It's been a war zone for thousands of years. These guys have been zapping each other constantly. The Russians went in there, they lost what 15,000 of their guys. We went in there, we lost 5,000 of our guys. Same timeline, basically, but we didn't get near as waxed as the Russians did because we don't fight like the Russians do. So the Afghan conflict for the Russians was their Vietnam. We learned some lessons in Vietnam, and we didn't proceed to do things nearly as stupidly as we did the first time around, except we were in there for entirely too long, being run by too many civilian guys who really, truly don't know what end of the tube the round comes out and trying to run things. Down to Rosie, dude. Appreciate you coming on by. So looking at things as it is in the Afghan conflict, basically what it was is essentially these guys were duking it out with each other until we got there, and they're like, okay, we're going to put our fight to the side. We'll fight the infidels. And once we get done with them, we can go back to whacking each other because, that's what that's what we're really good at. But if you look at the way that Afghanistan is, it is very, very mineral rich. However, that stating and being as it is, geographically, it's kind of in that point of like, China, Russia, they're kind of like, in the middle there. But the biggest problem is Afghanistan is a puppy mother to mine and extract and take the stuff out of there. One, there is no infrastructure. Two, there is no rail lines. Three, you're dealing with the Pashtuns and the other guys going, okay, we're going to now fight this, that, and the other thing. And, they really, truly don't care who they're fighting. They just want to fight. I mean, that's just, that's their claim to fame. That's all they really, really do. So anyway, getting back to this stuff, the filibuster thing, the Democrats really, truly have stepped in it yet again. And they're now asking, young voters turn out in droves to elect Democrats to the White House, the Senate and the House, so to pass progressive policies that improve our lives. Okay. Progressive policies don't improve anybody's lives. What they do is they simply give you a soft tyranny. They give you a soft communism. Now, you can look up the basic premise of communism, and it says this essentially, and I'm not going to use like the proletariat, the bourgeois, and all the rest of those stupid phrases, but essentially what communism is you have a small cadre of leadership. That cadre of leadership runs the entire country from top on down completely ineptly, and that's how it works. So you have all the lies, all the subterfuge, all the secrecy, hiding the facts of the complete total ineptitude. And there's a video I was watching the other day, and one of the old I think 144s or something, one of the old Tupolev tanks, not an easy plane to fly anyway, but it went down, and it went down in like 1981. In the process of killing 1981 type of guys, it didn't just kill like, a couple of pilots in the thing. Oh no, it wiped out 16 of their admirals. It killed like 50 of their other guys. It was a horrendous major kerfuffle. And I'm being very, very clean here because it really was just a raging Charlie Foxtrot. Now, why did that seem to have happened? Well, because the Russian admirals, because they were higher echelon, they had the ability to go to the non-publicly available stores and get the stuff that, you and I would just go out and buy. And they would buy this stuff and they would pack this plane full. So this plane was completely overloaded in the first place. Now, if you look on that, I think it was a Tu-144 or something, but, it was basically equivalent to like a twin jet, jumbo. It was literally their first commercial jet airliner. And I think one of them is actually like another version of one of their military aircraft back in that range. And they were known to be sketch. They were hard to control. There was some safety issues no matter what, because we're talking Russian technology where, anything that flies has to fly because, we have to serve the motherland, fix the problem in the air, put the fire out, screw the wires back together, whatever it takes to keep the plane looking good on the world stage. So anyway, what happened is this thing takes off. The problem is when this thing took off, if you look at the way that the plane was built, it had a center of gravity aspect of about 10% either way. If you go forward, it's going to be nose heavy. If you go the other way, it's ass heavy. Now, taking this thing off, you're supposed to come off the deck pretty fast. I mean, it's actually a fairly high-speed aircraft with a fairly long runoff to get the thing off the deck. Now, when you fly an aircraft, I'm going to get a little technical here. When you fly an aircraft, there's 3 stages of you getting off the ground. One, you have a terminal velocity, and that's called V1. Then you have V2. V2 is the speed at which you can get the nose off the ground. You're starting to develop lift. V3 is where you're now climbing off the ground. Well, here's the problem that happened with that flight. In their infinite wisdom, one of the admirals wanted not just a little bit, but he wanted 2 500-kilogram paper rolls that are going to be put on the printing process. And he thought, you know what? It's going to be so much easier to get it back to my place if I just fly it over. So anyway, the way, shape, and form is this thing's taking off. It's really heavily overloaded. So the pilot knew it was going to be running heavy because he knows the way these admirals work. I mean, they basically bring stuff in the plane, they stuff everything in there. They basically got plenty of crap for themselves, their mistresses, and everybody else that they're trying to take down the line. And of course, bribery runs key in old Soviet Russia. So anyway, this thing's taken off. And it's taken off, and it's taken off, and it's running really heavy, and it's coming off the deck. Now, the people on the ground describe the flight is the thing came off the ground, it started nosing up, and all of a sudden they saw what looked like a cross. They describe it as a cross in the air. The plane basically went up, stalled, lost lift, went on one wing, hit the ground, and splatooed. Now, the rest of the story, to use the Paul Harvey line, the rest of the story is it was going to be flying from one area down to Vladivostok, and it was a very long flight. So the plane was full, and I do mean like, they basically were like almost like, packing more gas into the tanks, full to the gills with jet fuel to go from point A to point B. And in the process, it was way overloaded, took off, the paper rolled back, shifted the center of gravity, put the thing into a lift situation where it went up so high, it stalled, came back down, splat. Now, the way that the Soviet Russian things work is they essentially made sure that nobody knew what happened, because you can't let the Russian, aristocracy look bad. Soviet Russia must always look good. Communism must never be made to look bad. So they basically wiped out like almost 70 people on that plane. And the only people that really knew about it at the time, I think there was like 6 or 7 wives were made aware that, your husband, died serving the motherland, he will be honored greatly, this, that, and the other thing. And they put up at, I forget the general area, but I think it was close by that airfield. They put up a mausoleum, but they only noted like a certain number of names. It's still secret what happened to that flight. They won't say what happened publicly, but there's enough information out there that you can kind of figure out the story and get the rest of the gist of it. But they only just recently acknowledged a more closely akin quantity of names. And it's always been like that in, Soviet or, any communist dictatorship, you wish you was to call it. They always see you as the usable item of which you will find your usability to a certain degree. And then when they're done with you, they kick you to the side because, well, you've now become a hindrance to the furtherance of Mother Russia or communism or whatever it is they wish to say, for the continuance and the furtherance therein of any form of communism. Look at in the room. Delaware, the Dems need puppets keep voting in the rigged elections to hide the illegal votes. Well, yeah, that's obvious, man. I mean, you see all these accounting things now where everybody's going, yeah, this really kind of doesn't look straight, and all these unaccounted for, really icky kind of vote situations, and yeah, there's a lot of really just icky stuff going on. Delaware Rosie again kind of reminds me of the video where the U.S. plane stalled, fell out of the sky because the military truck broke its chains, threw out the balance, and the plane wasn't powerful enough to maintain lift. No, what actually happens is it's simply a case of angle of attack. It's not the power. The planes have plenty of power. It's just like if you're driving a car with a bad clutch, you're driving along, and you get to a hill. Well, you're throwing tons of power on it, but no matter how much power you're putting into it, it's not doing anything. It's just making noise. Same thing with a jet. When you're taking off and you basically go and you're doing a standard lift, everything's going good. Well, you change angle of attack. What happens then is that you've gone from a smooth progression of air going over the wings and everything like that. You stall. You literally stall. The air basically gets all kind of, weird vortices and whatnot. You're not maintaining lift anymore. The plane basically is going up the hill. The clutch starts slipping. It runs out of air and it falls. That's literally what happens. Now, actually, that is kind of correct in one regard, though. Delano Rosie, basically have a weight shift, but that thing was so grossly overloaded to begin with that throwing 1,000 kilos in the wrong area, about a ton, was enough to make that thing just go off the razor's edge into oblivion. And the major thing that really freaked out the Russians was they're like, oh no, is this an attack from the Americans? Was this like in a major assault now to say, oh, this is an overture of war? They're going to basically take us over in the Pacific, and because they literally lost like their head guys in like major Navy positions. I mean, we're talking like the creme de la creme of their guys. Who are obviously booze hounds, but the creme de la creme of those guys who literally were the leaders of the higher stuff. And the pilots really didn't have much wherewithal to go, yeah, I think we're overloaded, sir. I think it's not going to be safe if we fly like this. Because they'll just take the guy off flight status, throw him to the side, ruin his career, and basically stick some other dumbass in there and say, you fly plane now. Gator Red in the room. Appreciate you coming by, dude. Saw President B went to talk. There are people lining the road. B sucks, and Trump wants signs wall to wall with people with signs. Well, there's that other one too. I don't know if you guys caught the latest. I think it was a NASCAR race or something, but one of the guys was literally trying to talk to the news guy, and all you heard was blank Joe Biden, blank Joe Biden. Clear as day, you were hearing blank Joe Biden the whole time dude was talking. Holy crap. Even the news person was like, well, I don't know if you're hearing the screaming behind you, but I think we can just ignore it. What'd you think about the race? The guy's like, well, that turn in so-and-so was really hard. I had to keep a hard line. The whole time behind him, all you're hearing is blank Joe Biden, blank, clear as day. There's no way in the world that they could, filter that out. That was really, really funny. There's a lot of stuff coming in and out of Florida now. Supposedly, DeSantis has launched an investigation against Facebook for election interference. Facebook's got a little bit of a problem now. There's some stuff coming down that's going to be really, really interesting with them. I think Trump's filed some interesting lawsuits now. There's been, speaking of, in Congress, or Senate Cruz or one of those guys is now really intrigued with how is Facebook and, YouTube and Twitter and Google doing these things, and still saying that, oh no, Section 230 affords us perfect protection because we're not media guys. It's like, wait a second here. You're kind of going both ways. You're saying you're neither fish nor fowl, but when it's convenient, you're saying that you're media guys. So that's getting really, really interesting. And it's going to be, charitably one of those things. I think it's not going to work out for these guys very, very well at all. Oh yeah, Delano Rosie, the guy walking up, blank and breaking the blank. Yeah, I love that guy. It's like you have Sally Sleazebag going, hi, I'm on location, and this, that, and the other thing, and this, that, and the other thing, and blah 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 blah. And these are the situations that we have to worry about now, and blah 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 blah. And then this guy comes walking. This guy comes walking up, blank her right in the, blank her right in the, and she's just like, what? Get away, stop. The guy's just like emboldened. Yeah, that was fun stuff. And eventually, I think it got to the point where he was too well known. I don't know if you guys caught up on this one or not, but this one is getting very, very interesting. Supposedly, the BLM is getting really, really pissed off now about the racist aspects of the vaccine mandate, and supposedly Whole Foods. Oh my God, I cannot begin to tell you how much this tickles me. But this is a white guilt social justice warrior, just virtue signaling, blowing up in their face with a glorious boom. Just give me 1 second here. Whole Foods. Not know if you've ever seen the inside of a Whole Foods. It's kind of upscale. It's really, really not cheap. I mean, I know the stuff in there is, it's good quality, but I don't know if it is justified by the sheer expense of simply just going in there and going, yeah, that's another $20 or $30 on top of my standard shopping bill. Is it really that much better? Well, it's all organic and this, that, no, come on. Is it really that much better? I don't know. But anyway, in the virtue signaling, and this is coming from Analyzing America, They had an anti-racist messaging thing, and it blew up in their face with a glorious boom. Whole Foods is being brutally mocked for their attempt to connect with the black community, Fox News reports. The high-end grocery chain was known for high-quality food as well as higher prices compared to other grocery stores. A sign outside a Whole Foods market has gone viral on social media after it was posted on Twitter. The Whole Foods sign reads, quote, "Racism has no place here. We support the black community," end quote. This instantly ignited backlash online. Quote, "Okay, so put a location in the black neighborhoods," one person replied. Quote, "I find this extra funny because they only put Whole Foods in gentrified areas, LMFAO," another person replied. Another person answered, "Whole Foods fights racism by only building stores while black people are not. They're operating off strictly white dollars this entire time," another person said. However, this sparked some debate as one person argued that Whole Foods does put stores in black communities. "This is a lie," one Twitter user said about the sign. "I experienced the most racism in life working at a Whole Foods in Orange, Ohio for 6 months during the quarantine. Trust me, if Whole Foods was against racism, they'd have just as many locations in black and Hispanic communities and not just affluent white ones," a person said. Another quote here. "Yet y'all won't build a store in a non-white or non-wealthy neighborhood. Same with y'all's beloved Trader Joe's. Last time I was in one of your stores at Whole Foods, I got followed around by one of your employees. Racism has no place here. Ironic, isn't it?" I cannot do this justice. Whole Food founder and CEO John Mackey is widely known as a strong critic of socialism and a massive advocate of free markets and capitalism. That's not how it's being projected, dude. Mackey says capitalism is humanity's greatest invention and doesn't deserve the criticism it receives. Quote, "Capitalism will be attacked for its motivations because its motivations are seen as somehow impure," Mackey said. I really have a problem with the guy, saying that he's basically a good capitalist and he wants to make the place work and everything. But the biggest problem is if you're going to do this virtue signaling crap and you're putting the wrong guys in charge of your public voice, you might want to correct that situation pronto because the black community don't play that. I mean, they really don't play that. They are very easily tweaked. And if you do something that is so just in your face, they're going to call you on it. And they're not going to be charitable about it. They're simply just going to say, "You were doing this. It's not even cool in the process of trying to couch it in some other, terms they're in. We ain't buying it. And we're going to give it back to you tenfold." Delano Rosie, "I love the South Park episode of Randy wanted a Whole Foods in South Park, and the level of virtue signaling makes shoppers donate to poor, starving children." Yeah, that's the one thing I've always loved about South Park is they hoist everybody's petard. There is nobody safe on South Park. You're going to get skewered no matter who you are, and it does kind of have a leftist slant in some aspects. But I think it's rather funny because they just make fun out of everybody. I mean, there's really no charity given to anybody, and they really truly don't care who they piss off. I mean, that's just how they are, and I'm just amazed that Comedy Central still supports them in the regard that they've been on air for so very, very long. But they're consistent. They're very consistent. Okay, I have some sound bites of theirs because they're consistent. Mackey has an estimated 75 million. And blames liberals for encouraging disquiet about capitalism. That's why we're seeing this move towards socialism because capitalism they see as inherently corrupt. That is wrong. Capitalism is the greatest thing humanity's ever done, he said. "We are told a bad narrative, and we've let the enemies of business and enemies of capitalism put out a narrative about what's wrong. It's inaccurate," Mackey concluded. He's right. He's right. If people really, truly understood what actually happens with capitalism versus enforced socialism or late communism or I always bounce this off of people and say this is your best way of being informed about any of this stuff. You just see the old cartoon, I think it was back in the 40s or something, Make Mine Freedom. And what it comes down to saying this is essentially this: any kind of ism will eventually become an ist. So any form of ism will eventually become a communist overture. Soft, hard, call it what you will. It will be what it is because it all comes into the same thing. Socialism, fascism, centrism, any of that stuff eventually forms itself into being a very small control group with a whole bunch of people underneath that really can't elevate to that status. They're hosed. Let's see. Scroll. I cannot begin to tell you the irony in this one. This is one I almost truly don't like reading in public, but this is irony. Former Notre Dame professor who said, quote, "Damn the unvaccinated," end quote, dies 2 weeks after receiving a third COVID shot. This coming in from Orlando, Florida, a former Notre Dame professor who routinely attacked unvaccinated people as quote unquote selfish passed away after received her third COVID vaccine. And I'd have to say that she probably croaked. But 67-year-old Karen Croak, or Croaky with an E, Croak Heisler, received her first COVID vaccine jab on January 13, 2021. Quote, "I just got my first dose of the vaccine. Never been happier to be, quote unquote, old. Now let's get these vaccines rolling for everyone," she said. And this is like her Twitter piece on January 13, 2021. January 9, Heisler tweeted that she had zero side effects after receiving the second Pfizer jab, which she got on April 8th. Early this month, Heisler tweeted she got her third jab. "Just received my third COVID vaccine," she tweeted on September 7th. A week later, she started to have some complications and cursed the unvaccinated. I truly cannot begin to describe to you the complete and total irony here in her statements. This coming in on September 14. So, still waiting to see a doc, although they have run tests. Still no room in the hospital or in the ER bay. PA announcement just said ER could not accept any more patients. This is a big hospital. Damn the unvaccinated. They've made life hell for a lot of people. It gets better. Heisler said her cardiologist tried to admit her to the hospital, but there was no rooms because of COVID. I have a hard time believing that, but okay. This one coming on September 14. Again, welcome to the reality of a COVID crisis in Florida. My cardiologist tried to admit me to the hospital, but there are no rooms because of COVID. Had to go to the ER route. Places teeming in the waiting room stretches in the hallways. Wait for some is 15 hours. Get the damn vaccine. About 2 weeks after her third COVID jab, Karen Croak Heisler passed away. According to the Heisler obituary, she died of, quote, "cancer-related complications," end quote, on September 19. So, let's do the math. She got the jab on the 7th. She got the jab on the 7th. And then she passed away on the 19th. 12 days later. Delano Rosie, I got a related story to that last comment you said about mandates, but there's both sides of this one. There's really both sides of this one, so stay tuned on that one. But anyway, a couple of the students were reacting to the news were down. "Oh no, my favorite teacher, this and the other thing." Da, 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 da. But the irony is she kept going on about like, "Oh, damn those people who don't have the vaccination. Damn those people who are in the emergency room. Oh, damn all these other people. Blah 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 blah." She got the third shot, and I put her down. Maybe she shouldn't have gotten the third shot. The irony is profound. Let's see. I don't know if you guys saw this picture or not. I really can't do this one justice. But supposedly Joe Kaka got the booster shot in the White House. It wasn't in the White House. He was on a sound stage. There was a fake wall with a couple of White House, air quotes, a couple of White House looking windows. And then the big question is, did he really get the shot or did he get saline solution? That one's being kicked around right now, and it's out there. It's out there. I don't know if you guys caught up with this one. Fully vaxxed. Yet another person. This one coming from Team Tucker Carlson. This was Mark Lamont Hill. He's only 42 years old, and he is a former CNN contributor, and he suffers a heart attack and is hospitalized with blood clots. Now, what they're really, truly concerned about is, like, obviously, thrombosis or any of those kind of blood clots thing. And there is some people that are not good with it. You basically get the stuff and you have problems. Let's see. I don't know if you caught up with this one or not, but this one coming in from Patriot Alerts. And this is going to be another COVID story. Harvard Business School. If you have to be snooty and expensively taught, Harvard is right up there as one of those Ivy League things, but Harvard's breakthrough cases are so bad, despite nearly complete vaccination, it is shutting down the school's in-person classes. Wow. Harvard Business School shutting down the in-person classes due to breakthrough cases, despite a student vaccination rate of at least 96%. Quote, with the support of Harvard University leaders advised by city and state public health officials, we have decided to move all the first-year MBA students and some of the second-year of 9/27 to 10/3, end quote, said person Mark Catula in a statement on Monday. The move comes after a steady rise in breakthrough infections, the school admitted. Okay, just because you get the vaccine, it is not a guarantee. There's also like a lot of information starting to come out now that the efficacy of the vaccine really falls off after a certain time period. Even natural immunity, they say, falls off after a time period. But if you're getting constant exposure after you have natural immunity, you're pretty much re-inoculating yourself. Your body's going, oh, yeah, I know this one. This one's a little different than the last one. This is what it looked like the last time. This is really similar. I'll duke it out with this one. Oh, yeah, I'll have the white cells and T cells duke it out. So constant exposure is how your body builds resistance. That's why you're not dying from the flu. That's why you're not dying from the cold. The flu and the cold used to be fatal until somebody had a version that they could survive, or the person was one of those guys that had just enough different genetics that when he got the virus couldn't take over. His body was able to combat it, and he was able then to basically have a modified version of that virus that he was expressing to other people that they got exposed to, they caught, they survived, they started building immunity. That's herd immunity. Not somebody basically taking an injection and sticking it in your arm going, yep, this is a fix. That's not herd immunity. Herd immunity is you being exposed to something in your biosphere and you building up a resistance to it. What is Milo? Milo's up to something. Mr. Milo, what are you doing? Yeah, he knows he's being naughty. Mr. Milo. All right. Anyway, so that's herd immunity, and it's really folly to say, oh, we're just going to shoot everybody up in the planet with this crud and, we'll fix everything. There's always going to be the population portion that's going to say, you're not sticking that crap in me. You're just not. Scroll. This, I cannot begin to tell you how much this tickled me. This is absolutely comic gold. And this is from Analyzing America. And there was a video that was posted up and it said, Fauci is flabbergasted when told Americans may not be taking the vaccine because of him. People won't listen to you. Oh, man. It was on Hugh Hewitt. And Fauci was aghast to learn that Americans do not trust him given his history of hypocrisy, flip-flops, and failed predictions. Are you kidding me, Hugh? Said Fauci. Let me hang on a sec. I got to do this right. Are you kidding me, Hugh? Yeah, it's about as good as I'm going to get. I'm trying to explain to you the truth, Hewitt fired back. Fauci's hypocrisy and flip-flops have widely destroyed his value as a public health official. Hewitt asked why he hadn't resigned since critics view him as the deterrent in an ongoing effort to vaccinate more Americans. Hewitt told Fauci directly, quote, I have lost confidence in the CDC, the FDA, and actually believe a lot of Americans. A significant part of America now have lost confidence in you, Dr. Fauci. He asked, is there a point where you say, I may do more harm than good because people don't listen to me anymore and step aside? No, absolutely, unequivocally no, Hugh. Sorry, said Fauci. To explain hypocrisy and flip-flops, Fauci said, when you have an evolving situation and data is rapidly evolving into something that is unprecedented and unknown, you have to evolve with it and look at the data as it exists now, make the best of your ability, a decision, a recommendation, all kinds of things that go into that evolution. Yeah. It's just the fact that Tony Fauci, not the guy I'm talking with, but Tony Fauci, the people in people's minds, is now an impediment to public health because people won't listen to you, Hugh Hewitt said. They actively reject what Tony Fauci says for the reasons which are complicated, but can you accept that just the fact you ought to respond to it, say, Mr. President, I think my time is as a successful, effective, I think my time is up as an effective and successful and effective spokesperson. Falsely responding, with all due respect, I completely disagree with the premise because there's an awful lot of people who do listen, who do the right thing from a public health standpoint. Dude, no. Mm. Delta Rousey to contend the quote, get your vax signs on the streets and the I'm vax stickers. I'm considering having signs or stickers saying, quote, that if I'm afflicted from the vax, I'm suing. That's funny. I like that. You gave me the bug. I'm suing. Oh, man. I don't know if you guys heard about this one or not, but I'm going to keep this really kind of one of the shorter ones. But supposedly, China right now is having major manufacturing issues. And it's something as simple as power. They can't make enough power. Literally, their power generation situation is obviously they can't dig up enough coal. What in the world? No. Shut up. I didn't have that muted. So anyway, the situation is these guys basically have I hate autoplay. They have way too many things going on and way not enough ability to deal with all the manufacturing. And it's simply a case of they're just overwhelmed. The factory is getting dinged by the soaring cost of energy, according to China's National Bureau of Statistics, which added Thursday that high energy businesses have not been prospering. Okay, I really don't have a major problem with this, mostly because anytime that you have a raging expansion on anything, there's always going to be that time where you've expanded as far as you can, and you're going to contract. So I think right now China has gone too far, too hard, way too long, and it's now imploding on them. That the simple reality is that they're trying to do way too much, and they ain't got enough infrastructure. They just don't. They didn't have it before, and doing the way that they do stuff, it's folly for them to assume that they can keep going the way that they've been going, and things will just not ever change because nature abhors a vacuum. It just does. That's just how stuff is. So I think they're hosed. It's going to bite them in the ass, and they're going to have a really hard realization of do you want to have rolling blackouts on people's neighborhoods, or do you want to make goods? Well, eventually get to the point where the people are going to be pissed off, and they're going to find their own way to make things happen because, oh yeah, you've now done the majorly bad thing to a population that was used to being pretty much just a step above slave labor. You gave the ability for them to have good stuff. Anytime you give people a chance to have, that bit of, maybe just a little bit of personal freedom and some technology to play with, they're gonna use it for what it's worth. Okay, that's just all there is to it. Let's see. This one is interesting. Coming from ammoland.com. FBI crime data says armed citizens shot more criminals in 2020. Hey, bad guys. There's way more people that are armed up now, and they are way more likely to zap you because you're the guy who's causing problems. Okay? Case in point, if it's not a good deal to be a bad guy right now because, oh yeah, in the last couple of years, like 37 to 50 million people have armed up. That's why ammunition right now is so scarce, and the prices on it is just starting to get back to normal. It's getting a little bit more available. Prices are starting to become more reality checked. I'm starting to see 50 round boxes of 9mm to sub $20 prices. This is like CCI Blazer. So, this is good stuff. Personally, I really would rather, if I'm just doing practice ammo and it's nothing that I'm really worried about, gathering up off the shooting range floor, I'd probably be shooting, steel case ammo, or to probably be shooting ammo that has alloy cases, because the brass stuff, you might want to take it home and reload it because, it's still good for 5 or 6 reloadings if you're charitable to your brass. The other thing, too, is also it's a second run of revenue that most people really don't realize. It's actually a second run of revenue for most gun ranges that really they don't want you to pick up your brass because they sell the used brass and make money off it. Dirty little secret. Scroll. There is actually now a how-to This is one I think I actually want to put this on my laptop because my laptop, my Dell laptop, is actually rocking Win 10, which I hate. I'm still running Win 7 currently that you guys are watching me, through the interwebs with, using that camera and the Yeti Mikey. But that guy right there that I'm still utilizing is still a Win 7 machine. Is it getting a little long in the tooth? Yeah, there's some stuff I wish it did a little faster. I'm sure the processor is getting a little bit tired. I can't really run like the really hardcore HD videos, but it does fine. It still works okay. It still rocks the internet. It still does stuff I needed to do. Probably, I really need to clean out all my stuff in terms of files, and I really truly just need to reload the OS because it's getting into that boggy stage where Windows just gathered up so much crap that your computer just starts going slow. So anyway, there is now a hack out, if you wish to say, but there is now a hack out that basically boots you straight to desktop on Win 10. Yay! Yay! How cool is that? Win 10 is a couple of screens to prevent you from going directly to desktop. When you boot, first you need to dismiss the lock screen and then log in. We'll show you the streamlined process. The Windows 10 lock screen is similar to the lock screen on a phone, since it really doesn't serve any purpose beyond being an extra barrier before the login screen. The login screen is important, but you may not need it. To boot straight from the desktop, you need to disable both of these screens. How to disable the lock screen? Well, remove the lock screen on Win 10. You first need to know the version you have. Easily check that out if you're the Win 10 Home or Pro. About your PC menu, need to use the registry editor to remove the lock screen, while Win 10 Pro users edit the group policy. And both processes require several steps, easy to follow along. How to permanently hide the lock screen on Win 10. This is on howtogeek.com. And just if you Google search how to boot straight to Windows 10, bam. What it does is it basically makes your computer work like your phone where you just go boop and then you're in. That's really all it does. And then you can disable the login screen. And I really don't like both those screens. It's a time waster. You're waiting for the computer to say, okay, I'm ready for you to do something else now. It's like, I don't want to have to do something else now. I want to just go and use you. It's annoying. It's really, really annoying. And then you can disable the login screen. Easy way to turn on the sign-in screen. It only applies to waking the PC from sleep. You need to go sign in from the fresh boot. You need to put your PC into sleep, which is a good option. Go to settings account, sign in options of PC. Select never for require sign-in. 2 steps. Holy crap. Who knew that Windows anything could be that blank and easy? Let's see. Get out of this one over here. And I don't know if you guys heard about this one or not. This is kind of a little bit daunting, but supposedly, this is one of those kind of build the wall things. I'm not talking about southern border. I'm talking about the difference between the East and West Coast's liberal bastions and the hinterlands that aren't like them. There's a new secession poll, and this is coming from PatriotJournal.com, but there's a new secession poll, turns heads around the nation. Trump supporters say they are sadly getting ready. Okay, it's not only Trump supporters, okay? There's a bunch of people all along the pantheon of full left, full right, and those guys in the middle who are kind of where I'm at. I'm more libertarian. I'm more of, okay, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I am really a fiscal conservative, and I'm kind of not socially liberal, but there's a lot of things that I think really the government should not be doing. Really shouldn't be doing. And we sure as hell shouldn't be paying for it. When Joe Biden entered office, he claimed he was marking a new era of unity, but from what we've seen, the last thing Sleepy Joe wants is to unite the country. He's ignored every concern from both Republicans and regular Americans. He seems driven to put globalists and socialists first. Americans, it seems, comes dead last. Meanwhile, Democrats blindly forge ahead with wildly unpopular agenda. They keep the border open as they defund police departments. Cities are crumbling as liberals push for more taxes and heavy regulation. It seems like Trump supporters are getting increasingly impatient. You think? And it seems like they agree with liberals on one last thing. From Mediate, a shocking new poll from the Center of Policies at the University of Virginia reveals that over 1/2 of Trump voters surveyed and 41% of Biden voters are in favor of blue and or red states seceding from the nation. Dude, I know a couple states I would love to be in when they secede. Roughly 4 10, 41% of Biden and half, 52% of Trump voters have at least somewhat agree it's time to split the country, favoring red and blue states seceding from the union. I got no problem with that whatsoever, man. If you want to run like New York and California, you can be a private entity, man. Have a blast. I don't want to pay for it. Politics and policies have been so polarized that most Trump voters and Biden voters believe the red and blue states should split. This is thanks to toxic politicians, corrupt state governments, and the mainstream media dead set on dividing the country based on identity. There's a lot of stuff that I simply just don't watch with the mainstream media. If you go out in your town, you can probably meet people from all walks of life. You might even meet people with different political views. Do you disagree with them? Sure. Are you able to live, work, and coexist with them? Of course not. I don't know. I would disagree on that one heartily, because there's some people really, truly should live in a whole other part of the country that is their own. The only reason so many voters feel this way is because toxic politicians are ignoring their concerns. Is especially bad in blue-run states where Democrat majorities railroad their agenda through. Even in Texas, a conservative state that values democracy, Democrats disrupted the government by fleeing to D.C. Every single one of those assholes should be booted out of office. They abrogated their authority, and they tried to make policy by not allowing a vote on the thing that they're supposed to do, representing their people. That's criminal. Seems to be no effort by lawmakers to work together, find compromises, and put their own egos aside for the good of the people. Long gone are the days where both blue and red leaders can find common ground and negotiate. Who is really to blame for all this? Really can't say for sure, but the mainstream media thrives off of division, controversy, anger, and propaganda. Powerful globalists influence our lawmakers to pass policies that weaken our country and make themselves rich. Then there's always the toxic DC swamp, which would rather have us fighting each other than holding it accountable. Regardless of the reason, the solution is the same: strong leaders who will work to unite the country. We just don't seem to have any right one right now. Yeah. That's all I got to say. That one. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if you guys saw this one or not. This is literally one of those kind of stories coming out, well, from one of those places that should be, it really should be its own country. But California protesters blocked the Golden Gate Bridge and are demanding this spending bill include immigration amnesty. White virtue signaling? Much? Even Latinos don't like illegals, okay? Those guys that work their ass off to come here, they don't like guys crossing the border and going, I'm here now, you're going to give me money. No, they do not like them at all. This is coming from patriotjournal.com. The year quickly coming to close. Democrats are running out of time to get Biden's agenda done. Twice they were blocked by the Senate parliamentarian for trying to shove key changes into a spending bill. Seems they'll try anything to get their way, even if it violates long-standing rules. Well, that's just what Democrats do. They don't play by the rules. They do anything they possibly can. They'll shout you down. Even if they're wrong, they know they have to shout you down because they can't counter anything that you say with facts and only emotional outbursts and screaming memeites. That's all they got. Let's see. Immigration protesters stopped traffic on the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge for more than 30 minutes Thursday morning, urging Congress to pass a citizenship bill through the budget reconciliation process. Good luck on that one. The time to deliver economic justice, climate justice, and citizenship for all is now, organizers of the protest said in a statement. The SFIST reported. I think that would be the social, the San Franciscist. They said SF. They said FS, like Sam, F as in Frank, IST, S fist. That's closer to the truth than you want to ever admit in San Francisco. S fist. Wow, how appropriate is that? Quote, for these reasons, we demanded Vice President Harris and the top Democrats in Congress override the decision by the unelected state parliamentarian, which excludes undocumented immigrants from the budget reconciliation process. Okay, that in all and of itself tells me exactly everything you need to know anything about these guys. They don't understand the process, or they choose not to recognize the process because their guys are not getting any advancement. They're not getting any traction, and they're not doing the things that they really truly want to do because the guys on the other side of the aisle won't allow it. Even in quote-unquote mandated majority, they still can't pass these things. Unelected Senate parliamentarian assholes, they are elected. And if they're in Senate, they completely represent by the state 2 persons for each state. Your 2 guys voted. You got your vote. You didn't get it. Tough squat. I really, really want to cuss here, but tough squat. You're not getting what you want. Deal. You read that right. Racial immigration activists whose legal status in the U.S. is unclear blocked the Golden Gate Bridge to make demands of Democrats in D.C. They want them to violate our Constitution by overriding the parliamentary decision so they can ram amnesty into the spending bill. Folks, I cannot begin to tell you how much this tickles me. We're going to block this bridge in California so you guys in Washington see how bad we mean it. Have a blast. Enjoy. Have a blast. You guys are blocking a bridge. I'm sorry. I didn't feel much of a traffic jam on the other side of the United States. I really didn't. Let's see. So that one's going bye-bye. You can basically get the gist there. This one's getting kind of interesting here. DailyWire.com again. And there's now federal workers who is suing the Biden administration over the vaccine mandates. Now, this is not just a little bit of like, this is pretty good stuff. 10 plaintiffs filed suit in the U.S. District Court in Washington in September 23, seeking a judge place an injunction on President Joe Biden's vaccine mandates to cover all federal workers and contractors, as well as all the members of the U.S. military. It gets better. It gets a lot better because it wasn't just like a couple people here. It was like military guys and secret service guys. So literally those people who are really kind of close up and personal with the president when need be are saying no. Yeah, no. There's now also some news going on. Like, the ATF is now seeking to double its size within 5 years. There is no reason for that, justifiably, for the BATF to be anything. I'm sorry, the AFT. There's no reason for the AFT to be any larger than what it is because it has a very standard position of what it does. And most of the stuff that what it's doing, it's overreaching and it doesn't need more manpower. I don't know if you saw this one or not. This was one of the news guys is asking Joe Kaka some very uncomfortable questions. And he turns around. He's like, "Are you serious? Come on, man." Yeah, Joe Kaka is finest doing his classic. Come on, man. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you guys caught up with this one or not, but supposedly Smith & Wesson, also known as Schmidt & Wesson, also known as, I think I can cheat a real quick peek here. Yes. We're talking Schmidt & Wesson. Yes, we're talking Schmidt & Wesson. These guys. Yeah. Schmidt & Wesson. They have now decided they are going to move a chunk, and I'm really kind of thinking this is a little bit of virtue signaling on their part, but it's a step in the right direction. So they stated that the Firearm Industry Trade Association has noted the announcement from Smith & Wesson Brands, Inc. of their plan to move their headquarters and a large portion of their operations to Tennessee. Okay, here's the rest of the story. They are moving their management, they're moving their plastic stuff, they're moving their assembly down to Tennessee. They still have 1,000 employees, still in Springfield, Massachusetts, making the little jitters and all the little doohickeys and all the rest of that fun stuff. That is actually the firearm. So it's a little bit of virtual signaling to say, we're out at Thor's Hammer. Sorry. Thor's Hammer. We're out of here, man. We're making a big scene about moving our guys out and blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And this, that, well, personally, I can tell you for a fact that there's a company like not too far away from me, about hour 20, maybe an hour 15 minutes away from me. There's an area in Maryland called Accokeek. One of those Indian names that trips everybody up here. But Accokeek, Maryland, was the manufacturing / USA headquarters for Beretta USA. Beretta told Maryland, look, we can make a few weapons that'll basically fit underneath these prerequisite, dog crap laws that you're intending to do. But if you make it this full-on, hard-charging, anti-gun piece of legislation, with this new gun bill that you guys are, flashing around, we're out. We're not going to talk to you. We're just out. So literally Maryland is in like, yeah, well, we got a swinging set of baby nuts here, and you'll see what we mean when we put this law in place. And Beretta basically looked at them and said, look, we're an Italian company. We're 600 years old. We don't plan for 10 years in the future, okay? We tend to plan like 100 years into the future. we don't need to play games with you. We can be anywhere on the planet. We can be any place in the United States. We have military contracts right now. We have police contracts right now. We're a known name. We make a very well-known product or products, and everybody who deals with us knows us for what we are. We don't need to play games with you. And Maryland was like, well, we're gonna be hard charging, and you're not gonna budge. You're not gonna leave the state. 6 months later, they put something in place, and Beretta was like, that's nice. We're moving our manufacturing facilities down to a southern state. Maryland can bite us. So the only thing that Beretta currently does in Maryland, they basically chase paper. I mean, they basically have like, not even headquarters, but they have like one of their locations that basically does like administrative stuff. So that's literally what they have there. I think they reduced the size of their facility, either sold the buildings or they're renting the buildings out or some such. But, all that manufacturing and whatnot that was happening in Maryland, it's not in Maryland anymore. I think they lost a few hundred jobs in the process of doing that. And the tax load of everybody that currently is now employed by them, still making their products, is now in another state. Maryland does not get that gravy, does not get that tax revenue. And pretty much Beretta told them in no uncertain terms, you got an itch right here. We got a big itch right here. Yeah, told them in no uncertain terms, not feeling it. Go away. Let's see. Scroll. There's a bunch of jab stories here. This one I have to speak on. This is coming from Team Tucker Carlson and one of our favorite. How do I say this without saying this? How do I say this? How do I say this without saying this? Okay, a guy who likes to he likes to he really likes to yes, he's one of those guys, okay? Not saying that it's not there's anything wrong with it, but whatever. So we're talking about Don Lemon, who happens to be gay, but he also happens to be like a liberal asshole. Well, he's got a sexual assault case, and it's heading to court now. Yeah, supposedly an attorney for a man accused fellow CNN host Don Lemon of a sexually charged assault expects the case to finally end up in court early next year after a prolonged legal process. Lemon is like in a committed relationship or married or some such or other, but he's basically got a husband or wife. I don't know. He's got another dude. Okay. So he's not exactly alone here. So anyway, it's been over 2 years since Dustin Heiss, Hice, filed an explosive lawsuit against Lemon, who is openly gay, accusing the CNN Tonight host of assault and battery at a bar on New York's Long Island during the summer of 2018. Quote, Lemon put his hand down the front of his own shorts and vigorously rubbed his genitalia, removed his hand and shoved his index and middle fingers in the plaintiff's mustache and under the plaintiff's nose, according to the lawsuit filed August 11, 2019 in Suffolk County. Quote, Lemon intensely pushed his fingers against the plaintiff's face on the plaintiff's nose, forcing plaintiff's head thrust backwards as defendant repeatedly asked plaintiff, do you like the P word or the D word? While saying this, Mr. Lemon continued to shove his fingers in the plaintiff's face with aggression and hostility, the suit alleged. But Don Lemon has denied any wrongdoing. Lemon is not the only CNN host who's faced allegations of sexual misconduct. CNN host Chris Cuomo was accused of a former producer of sexual harassment. Oh, I'm not going to go any further. CNN is just full of human debris. I don't know if you guys saw this picture or not, but supposedly Biden had a meeting with Congress. The staff stops him from answering the Democrats' questions as he was holding how do I say this without I'll be nice. So holding Nancy Pelosi's hand. Okay, mommy, please don't let them hurt me, mommy. Yes, very strange. Biden was stated as saying, this is I think also like very soon thereafter, maybe he got like loaded up with some yum juice or something, but it doesn't matter when the bills are passed. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. You're not going to see this stuff, if you basically just get held up and, the midterms take place and you lose power. It does make a difference. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but supposedly hack 11:38 a.m. yesterday. Facebook went down until about like 6 p.m. or so, and nobody knows why. But I did hear like some of their DNS routing was sketched. Like you couldn't even log in because it was just all the routing numbers were all jacked up on the internet. So who knows what was going on with that one? Whether it was something external, internal, or who was playing with what, or if somebody pulled the wrong plug, or I don't know. But I even, I asked my wife about it. She's somebody who's kind of knowledgeable about computer stuff, and it was like, so what do you think's going on? You think they lost a server or someone? She goes, I don't know, but wherever their servers are, they probably should have just clicked over to somebody else. I was like, yeah, but this sounds too big for that. She goes, yeah, it kind of sounds strange to me too. And so scroll. Supposedly, the Australians now have a mandate. They have to get a COVID vaccine to work, or they will not be allowed to work. They're going to be starved into, capitulation and getting the shot and whatnot. Well, there's the rest of the story. Supposedly, Pfizer and AstraZeneca paid lobbyists to direct Australia's leaders to push for vaccine mandates. Former Australian member of parliament says. Yeah, it's dirty, folks. It's really, really dirty. And the thing is, the Australian overreaches as such is it really doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. I mean, their mortality is unbelievably low. I mean, their caseloads of COVID have been extremely, extremely low. I mean, even to say like a population of 26 million or so, but the fatalities have been like under a few hundred or something. It's been like exceedingly small. It's really not justified with this major overreach that currently Australia is doing, except for the fact I think what they're doing here is they're freaking out. They're trying to get it done as fast as possible before they get pitched out of office. Bad stuff. I don't know if you guys heard about this one or not, but I don't shop in this ghetto-fied crap hole. But supposedly the Dollar Tree, which was known as the store you could go in and buy anything for $1, they're raising their prices. Why? Because of Joe Kaka's economy. That's why. So they're now going to be known as the $1.50 store, and they're going to be opening 500 Dollar Tree Plus stores, which will be offering an assortment of value-added prices and the $1, $3, and $5 price range. Look at the economy, folks. Is what it is. I love this one. There is actually a majority. They could proceed further if they simply would not rate the bills so presumptuously. They maybe could possibly have something have happen. They wouldn't need to keep doing these continuing resolutions. But there is a stopping point where you've spent so much that you're now just simply trying to keep up with all the interest. It gets to the point of inaffordability, and when that happens and you default, you're screwed. We have never defaulted before, but we're on that ragged edge right now of defaulting on the loans that the government has just spent like crazy, spending us into complete and total ruination. And it's called, we can no longer do this anymore, Joe Kaka. So Biden is now blaming the Republicans and the interests on not advancing or enlarging the debt ceiling. Well, the reason why they're raising the debt ceiling is they're still trying to pay off the bills from previous, where they've overspent like crazy, and we're now borrowing like crazy to pay for the stuff that we've already borrowed and paid for. But we haven't paid for it. We're only paying on the interest. We haven't paid down the principal. And that's what absolutely kills you. If you start looking at like interest rates and what have you, anytime you start going over a certain dollar amount, it becomes one of those things where if you graph it, it's like, it just becomes so exponentially expensive to pay down the debt that the principal amount is just null and void. You're so screwed for just trying to take care of the VIG, the bone breakers are going to be coming out and bashing fingers and legs and all the rest of it because you got to pay the debt. Let's see. Scroll. I think I got a couple more stories here, but I want to get into something else too. I've noticed on eBay, and I literally have two now, and I can show you both on screen here. This one's going to be relatively easily. This is my original, current, basic backup guy. One of my favorite toys. This one being my Samsung S2. Let me boot that thing up here. So my Samsung S2. This one being the one that I've had for 3-4 years now or something. I forget what it was, but it's been a really, really interesting little toy to have. It's been a really decent tablet. And I was so impressed with it that I decided I should have two of them because it comes time for me to do like anime conventions and whatnot. And I want to have video playback going on, like, both sides of like tables and whatnot. And I'm doing stuff. But I decided in my infinite wisdom, I probably should have two of them. So I went out of my way and I bought a second unit. And in the process of buying the second unit, I was trying to find basically a doppelganger for this. And let me find my grab holds here. 1 second here. It's working with me. Come on. Okay. So basically what I have here is I have a Samsung tablet and a Samsung Bluetooth keyboard. And hopefully this kind of shows, but that little trackpad is not just for imagination. It actually is a working unit. So literally what it is that unit truly is one of those things where if you pick it up and you hold it correctly, it literally is, basically a 9.7-inch tablet, and it is a Bluetooth keyboard. The cool part about it is the keyboard is only held on by magnets. The case is only held on by magnets. And I decided in my infinite wisdom, I should have a second unit. That's why I have the graphics in here saying Samsung Backup S2. So I now have two of these guys. Now, trying to line up the second one was just a carnival of horrors. Let me boot these guys back off. It was a carnival of horrors for the very simple reason is, first off, I was trying to find a doppelganger for the case. And the case itself is a Samsung product. I don't know if it'll really show or not, but you can see, hopefully, it says Samsung right there. So this is a Samsung branded case. It is a Bluetooth keyboard, pairs real easily to this unit. And it basically is one of these things where you can set the thing there, you can move the keyboard around. It's got a bitty trackpad, so you literally you don't need to keep touching the screen. It's nice if you really want to, like use the home button and back and stuff like that. But you can actually kind of do that, two-handed thing where you basically, you're working the keyboard and you see something you got to do, boop, you can touch. And this thing was state of the art in 2016. So it's a 5-year-old, not quite a hot rod, but it was, as good as they had back then. And that's one of those things. If you look up Samsung tablets and you start looking at like model designations, they have like Tab A and Tab E and the S. Well, the S is the best. The S has the best processor. These things have really, really good sized batteries. I mean, I know that there's better units out there. And of course, iPads are technically better in like, some graphic aspects. And of course, just sheer amounts of apps that they have available for those guys. But I wanted to line up another one of these guys, and I wanted to build it the same way. So literally, what did I build? Well, first and foremost, it kind of went a little backwards. I literally was trying to find simply just the keyboard. So I was trying to find the keyboard with the touchpad. This is the second one of those units I bought. The first one wouldn't hold a charge, wouldn't pair. So I literally had to return that first one, get a second one. The actual tablet itself, this is the second tablet I got. The first guy sent me one. I got it. The screen was cracked. I tried to get a hold of him. He basically played games. I didn't even want to play games. I immediately put a return in on eBay. He got snarky. I reported him. He probably wasn't happy about the fact that eBay was like, look, don't talk smack to people, and really don't curse at people, or we're just gonna hand you your ass. Now, the graphics here, I was just being a smart ass. So, I made the graphics so I know, which unit is which. I do have a screen protector on there. This obviously won't show the low resolution with streaming, but it does have a screen protector on here. And I always put screen protectors on my stuff. That's just how I roll. I've been using Android tablets for an extended period now. And I got to say, they're really good sound devices. And the major thing that's huge about this is the fact it is such an easy item of which to motivate. And it's a little heavy with the case because it's 2 lithium batteries. The Bluetooth keyboard has a good sized battery. The keyboard has a good sized battery. Of course, the folio itself is not exactly light. But then you have that. How do I tell them apart? By just looking at the outside. Well, I did the simple solution of a piece of duct tape underneath the Samsung on the backup unit. I am still waiting on the SD card that I'm going to be putting in this guy for, backup, because it's not a huge unit. I think it's like 32 gig or something, but 32 gigs fills up fast in a tablet. And that's the other major thing that I really, truly don't like about anything Apple related is the very simple fact is most Apple products, you got to go to the cloud, and you got to go to the cloud fast because the internal storage is nothing. It's like messing with a Chromebook. And I've looked at Chromebooks and I've played with Chromebooks. I'm not impressed with a Chromebook, man. I can do everything a Chromebook does with this that really I don't even have to worry about. And I'll put it in perspective here. The last time that I flew, I literally had this. This is my entertainment system. I had a sound suppressing set of, active sound suppression set of earplugs, and basically this thing playing movies, flying from the middle of the country, Phoenix and then Vegas and then back here. Literally, I was rocking this thing the whole time. The only thing that I really had that was, external was obviously I had a backup battery feeding into it because I knew, an extended flight like that and extended flights like that, it's going to be sucking the battery down. And I didn't want the thing to die in mid-flight as I'm watching a movie and it's like, oh, yeah, this is going great. All of a sudden, goodbye. That would have been all I needed. Technology based, and this aspect is also just exceedingly portable. I mean, you're talking something that is literally comparing it to my laptop right now, it is literally 1/4 the size of a laptop. And if you have your own Wi-Fi unit, or if you basically just hotspot your phone, there's really no place that you can't use this thing. Okay, technology being what it is, they're starting to get cheaper now. And if you try to get a good one, you really got to be very careful because there's a lot of crap units out on eBay right now. And the ones that are decent, either people tend to snap them up or the price of, purchase just tends to get really, really stupid. But I got into this thing. Literally, it was like about 90 for the 90 or so for the tablet. I think it was like about 40 or so for the keyboard, like another 10 or so for, the screen protector. And so basically for under $170, I pretty much have, another tablet as a backup, literally a tablet backup. And, when it comes down to all intents and purposes, I basically have two computers, literally, quote unquote computers. I literally have two computers that basically fit easily, into my luggage or into my carry-on. And it'll be just that much more portable than lugging around, tons of laptops and other stuff. And it's fine. It's good enough for what I'm going to be doing with it. And video processing and whatnot, you still can kind of cheat stuff, but I wouldn't do it with a tablet. It's just not quite good enough. Let's see. Looking in the room now. Donna Rosie, I love hearing Zuck losing $6 billion in one day over the snafu. This is true. Curious Entertainment, appreciate you coming by, dude. What did this dude to say? Anime convention. Yes, I am working an anime convention that's coming up in 2022. Hang on a second here. I'm gonna keep myself honest. Hang on a second here. Yes, I will be working the KatsuCon in the National Harbor, and I think that's the Gaylord. So I'll be working that. That's going to be coming up. That will be happening. Oh, geez, I forget what days it is, but it's happening next year. Okay, so that's a 3-day convention happening in DC metro area. It's technically like Maryland, like right by the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, just across from Old Town Alexandria, and should be fun. Should be fun. That's going to be happening. Yeah, it's going to be February. This dude's helping me on that one. Yeah, it's going to be in February and good stuff like that there. So, be sure to check us out. And we'll have a table there. And it's going to be February 18th to 20th, 2022. KatsuCon. Yes, I will be doing that one. Curious Entertainment, never thought to hear dude and anime in the same sentence. Well, dude, like over my shoulder right here, that is both of the Otakon badges that I currently have. Like right here. Those are vendor Otakon badges. I've worked 2 Otakons. Like just last year, of course, there wasn't one, but the last one was down in DC. I worked that one. The one that was 2 years previous, I worked that one. So in between heart surgeries, I worked both Otakons that existed. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. The people watching, and of course, we sold scads of stuff. We were so busy, man. We were cranking sales, and times were good. But yeah, definitely be sure to check out KatsuCon. I'll be there on February 18th, February 18th, February 20th. Good stuff like that there, and should be a good time. If nothing else, I know the Gaylord. I've been to the Gaylord a bunch of times. There's actually not a lot of stuff that's not cool there. So if you want to go and check it out, I'll be there. All right, coming up on the hour and a half time period, I appreciate you guys' attention. You guys hanging out with me tonight. You got many other places to go. You get a gold star for attendance, and I appreciate your kind attentions. And I so appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. There is so much news going on. It's just blank and ridiculous right now. But let's just say the midterms are going to be really interesting because there's a lot of people really pissed off. And I can tell you, man on the street, they are just not happy with what's going on in the country and with Washington, D.C. They are not happy. All right, folks, I'm going to break up this one. Eat good, keep centering. I can't talk today. Eat good, keep centering as always. You know what, you love it. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm going to break up this one. Eat good and, well, good stuff like that there. And watch out for politicians. Catch you guys later. Have a good night. And I'll catch you then. And see you next week. See you guys.